Hey everyone, today I want to deep dive into legendary crafting and how it is changing last epoch in a way not everyone may realize. And if you enjoy the video, that's all that matters. Let's dive in. I've put significant numbers into the new patch. I've been doing a bunch of temporal sanctum runs and I've been creating legendary items to my heart's content. While doing this, I have come to enjoy the whole gameplay loop of high-end item crafting more and more, which prompted me to think about why that is exactly. The result is this video, but let's start from the beginning, which in our case is last patch. In last patch, pre-legendaries, there were very few reasons to play the monolith endgame after you spent maybe 200 hours in there. It is static, it's repetitive, and loot was generally not very interesting. Once you have your blessings, why stay there? The only potentially exciting loot came from the timeline unique bosses and from Orbis. Completing quest echoes, however, is a fairly long process. Once you finally reached the boss and the item didn't drop, you had to start all over again. Boss farming isn't really a strategy because there's so much filler in between, and that filler quickly lost its appeal. In the current patch 0.8.4, the monolith itself didn't change. You might expect that endgame is still static and boring. To some extent it is, don't get me wrong. But there is one aspect that was added this patch which has made endgame farming a lot more interesting. That aspect is legendary crafting. The content of endgame is just as static as boring as before, but the endgame loot got a significant upgrade here, and I want to explore this a bit further in this video because I think it's honestly a genius move from a development and design perspective. Talking about the concept a bit first, these new legendaries, what are they exactly? Well, it's really simple. Unique items, which already existed, now have a chance to drop with legendary potential, ranging with values from 1 to 4. These are basically open affixes which you can fill. You can't just put any shard in there, however, you need to fill up the potential with an exalted item. At random, the affixes on the exalted item are chosen and transferred to the unique, up to 4 affixes. The number depends on the legendary potential on a unique. The result is a legendary item, a unique item with additional affixes. One fun aspect about this whole thing is the item itself. The legendary item, especially once it has a lot of legendary potential on it, can become extremely powerful and provide huge quality of life, free up a bunch of affixes you can then typically use for defenses or damage, or create wonky item combinations for niche builds. These legendaries can be truly build enabling. This is just looking at a surface level, however, because clearly very powerful items in an ARPG are fun. Nothing new there. There are many implications, however, to this whole legendary crafting business, and here it becomes much more interesting. The first implications have to do with the base items itself, mostly the uniques. The legendary update has caused all unique items to be potentially interesting. Even completely worthless uniques now have a chance to drop with a lot of legendary potential, which means you can turn the worthless uniques into a very decent item. The system is designed in a way that lower level uniques have a higher chance to roll with additional legendary potential. The Falcon, for example, a level 1 unique chest, has a much higher chance to drop with 3 or 4 legendary potential than an Alluvian two-handed sword. I turned such a Falcon unique with 3 legendary potential into a legendary item for my upheaval build, adding a bunch of base stats to it. Extremely useful and a big quality of life for mapping, because I get 15% movement speed and a bit of dodge, while only losing some armor. As a result, dropping uniques is an exciting moment. This makes uniques interesting again, and it has an effect on endgame farming across the board. Which brings us to implication 2, which follows from implication 1. Target farming uniques now becomes much more bearable, because even if the reward chest doesn't drop the unique you wanted, you still have a chance to drop another unique with a bunch of legendary potential. Even if the timeline boss doesn't drop the item you want, it will at least drop one unique, which may in turn have legendary potential. And along the way, when you're farming and all, you drop plenty of uniques as well. Adding corruption to the monolith makes more sense now, because an increase in rarity means more uniques, which in turn means more bases for legendary crafting. And what's important to realize is that uniques are only half of the crafting method. You will need exalted items too, which you can once again target farm, or just randomly drop. And once again, more corruption helps with these. A simple change, a simple feature, like legendaries, single-handedly salvaged the endgame and has brought a lot of depth to the monolith system and all its little subsystems. The third and final implication is the crafting itself. First of all, finding uniques with 4 legendary potential on them, meaning you can slam 4 affixes on that item, that pretty much won't happen. You will very rarely find a unique with this much legendary potential on it. They're extremely rare. Much more likely is a scenario where you find a good unique for a build with 1 or 2 legendary potential on it. This then triggers a preparation process. It's not as simple as just slamming an exalt. You need to find a suitable exalted item to slam onto a unique, and once you have that, do a small dungeon until you reach this forge, the Eternity Cache. You place both items in the forge, seal it, travel to another timeline and open the forge. The legendary item materializes in front of your eyes and you're afraid to hover over it because maybe it added something completely useless. It's a gamble, but a good one. It is an exciting moment. Here's a small clip from yesterday's stream.
Okay, so hopefully hit the crit multi and fire.
You're extremely happy if you hit 1 or 2 and 4. That's me, by the way, being extremely happy. In case you missed, you're still not heartbroken probably, because the unique never got worse than it used to be. At least you gained something, but maybe not enough to make it work for your build. The creation of a legendary item is the pinnacle of the entire patch and puts the loot endgame in a good spot. And it is an amazing gameplay loop. Hunt for uniques, hunt for exalted items, run a small dungeon, craft your item, close your eyes, do a little prayer and hopefully end up with something completely broken. I can be very critical about this game because I enjoy it so much, and I will be very critical in my review of patch 0.8.4 because it's not all roses and moonshine or whatever the saying is, but it's also fair to praise well-designed systems, and this is definitely a great addition to the game for many reasons. And that's it. If you have any questions or remarks, put them in the comments below. Let me know how you enjoy these legendaries or if you've created any busted items yet. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. Love you all. See you soon. Bye bye.